Have you ever wondered what the purpose of your life is? Did you walk on a journey in way too deep just to find yourself questioning it? That is this episode of ReZero. From a lineage of spreading good vibrations, ReZero Season 3, Episode 11 explores the backstory of our happy-go-lucky songstress at the top of every local charts. She ends up in as a singer, songwriter, spreader of good vibes. It is Liliana Masquerade. Drop the beat! The intro at the beginning of this episode gives us an idea of what she was like as a bard before actually manifesting her talents into full form, traveling with a couple of older, wiser entertainers, maybe relatives, that she strives to be just like. Coming off the previous episode, this episode focuses heavily on Priscilla and Liliana before eventually making it back to the Greed and Subaru fight. Both Priscilla and Liliana are one of the most interesting supporting characters in ReZero Season 3, with much more lore to explore than some of their mainstay counterparts. Priscilla, the more grimier, sadistic type that has a hidden backstory filled with tons of exposition, in which I do not recommend you guys go to her wiki. It's all spoilers. With a personality that bathes in the amusement of others' pain while displaying a sex appeal that no other character in the series gives off. It's that time to see Mask Off Princess Priscilla Bariel of the sacred Valakia Empire. I lied. While Priscilla's character has much to explore, Liliana has the perfectly heartwarming journey where she truly finds her meaning in life. And so, the end of the last episode wants to pretend like Priscilla just took a critical hit to her traumatized background, which is like half true, as she gracefully slides back upright from Sirius's attack with a part of her necklace cracked. Sirius points out that she can make items of high value to her take the damage instead. It's a fitting ability for a princess that has a thick veil to cover her own pain of the past. Or maybe the correct phrasing is that she conquered her past. Sirius takes another shot at Priscilla's past by mentioning Iris and the Thorn King
would go deathly pale.
What the hell does all this actually mean? I mean, they don't really explain. Priscilla, more composed, pulls back out her big gang sword. The first step of love is caring for each other's pain. But Liliana is calling out Sirius for her warped understanding of what is mutual and what is consent. I mean, Priscilla totally just taught her this.
Shut up.
Now, Priscilla also calls out Sirius for her warped understanding of what love truly means. If her authority of wrath is just an impulsive emotion, in reality, it's Sirius's way or it's the highway to death. Is that something that you could really call love? By being forceful? Sirius tells Priscilla that her husband gave her this authority of wrath, in which Priscilla's quip is that
he gave you anger?
Then pulls out a flex that makes Priscilla's simps go limp. She had 8 husbands, all showering her with gifts to win over her affection. For everything that Sirius has done for Juicy, Priscilla
has 8 men that love her,
that will do anything to simp for her. Where Sirius was poking and prodding at Priscilla's insecurities of her past, Priscilla has hit the bingo at what makes Sirius angry and even questions if Juicy even knows she exists. We are all talking about wrath here. She's been chasing down Juicy for a very long time. And so here she goes into a rage. With fiery chains of her thirst for Juicy, she attacks Priscilla with all of her might, which wipes out her sacrificial necklace. However, this doesn't mean that Priscilla is all of a sudden vulnerable. Far from it. She leaps over Sirius and drops her big yang sword of the sun and tells her that she is the one that controls the flames around here, and instantly clears everything in the area that was engulfed by Sirius's fiery chains. It is as though Priscilla has conquered everything that has given her every reason imaginable to be in rage. This is like a metaphor for her control over her rage she probably felt from her past. With Priscilla Blocking that pathway into the building Sirius was in, Liliana rushes in to save her dear Kiritaka and sing her way into purifying everyone's hearts. Liliana Masquerade pulls out her strings and gets ready to jam in a sea of fire to heal the soul and perform her biggest hit yet for the Ningen below. Get ready to get serenaded with the As the Sky Overtakes the Dawn. But instead of showering us with happiness, the scene showers us with scenes of Liliana's hardships of the past. Young, alone, homeless, living out that struggling artist archetype with no one to turn to until she does. Life is all about hardships, but often it's the people you meet along your path that help strengthen your resolve. With their artistic improvement came the reward of coin, and also no coin. Walking your own path means literally walking your own path out of anyone's shadows. It may have been a young child's hubris that ditched the two closest to her at the beginning of the episode, but one she will ultimately have to make. However, the path that she walks is one that isn't something that she can easily overcome without a true understanding of her purpose. And so she ends up endlessly walking on a dark path, malnourished, believing in her way of the bard, which leads her to collapse. Mentioning that she isn't some hero that she thought she'd be, dangerously drinking water from a puddle. She brings up two names that serve as a tease for future arcs, Reed and Flugo, two heroes that Liliana mentions that would not have succumbed to her life struggles. And speaking about someone else's lives, now she questions what it even means to be a bard. Is it really something she just romanticized about in her own head, or is it just a path that leads to nothingness? Liliana brings up a philosophical point about her character. In her path to walk alone as a bard, she told nothing but other people's stories, meaning she's walking other people's paths, except her very own. Still dark and in the middle of the woods, she passes out, still wondering what it really means to be a bard. And that is a question that only Liliana can answer for herself. These are her own ideals that she's put on herself. And so the relatability factor right now is really hitting, as we can all think about our own personal lives where we walked on the path and we definitely question it if it's not completely working out. Little did she know, early in the morning, she realizes that she was only this far away from a clean water source. With the sight from the beauty of nature, the sun rising, and the ambience of the ecosystem that inhabits this part of the river, Liliana Masquerade has an epiphany. This is the vibrations of her nature. This is her song. Out of nowhere, there are sounds of instruments that Liliana couldn't possibly be playing. But like Sirius, no one's gonna take this seriously, except we are already enveloped by Liliana's heartwarming journey and can only feel the sounds of healing immersion. For a second, it sounded like Priscilla was insulting Liliana as a simpleton. But a simple personality with a big heart with an even bigger talent is worth more than 1,000 fools like Sirius. Sirius makes the building go kaboom, and Liliana goes flying off, and Priscilla deflects more of her attack, leaving her with even less articles of clothing. But that doesn't stop a performance of a lifetime. Leave it to Priscilla to teach us about love. It's about being tolerant of our differences. Forcing someone to act and think as you do throws away the individual that you are. There's also something called compromise, guys. But never mind this nuanced debate over what love is or not. All we know is that Sirius is seriously totally wrong. It is a wild ass one. With Priscilla looking as heroic as ever, she hits Wrath. Y'all all know the phrase. Owarida! Looks like there's no masochist here, only a heroic, sadistic princess delivering facts with her big ass Yang Sword of the Sun. But the fact is, every villain always has something slick up their sleeve. If you're a villain and you're not kidnapping and blackmailing, you're a terrible villain. Even worse, to pull at your heartstrings, it's a little girl. A hero protects children. So, what will Princess Priscilla do? I mean, once the hero hits the Owari-da, it really is over. Our sadistic princess of the sun that controls the flames is on a whole other level, saving the girl, slashing down Sirius, and becoming a real queen indeed. The lesson here, folks, don't listen to crazy people. The building Liliana was still standing on collapsed, and then Princess Priscilla starts speaking in like idioms as Liliana is slowly drowning in the water. Out of nowhere, her man from afar, Kiritaka, finally makes his reappearance to jump into the waters to save your girl. And so on this side of the battle with Liliana and Priscilla and now Kiritaka, we kind of have a happy ending for that side of the battle. Subaru begins to explain to Regulus about how he found out about his power from the constellation of Leo, the little king, Corleonis, meaning the lion's heart, which also means that Regulus's ability is to be able to stop time. In an instant, like before, Regulus's swift attack would have taken out his leg, but he managed to evade it and run away. And so while Regulus gives chase, Emilia is seen running towards what looks like Regulus's wives at the church. It must be that his wives hold some special connection to Regulus's heart that gives him the ability to stop time. And so the cliffhanger of the episode is one where we ponder about the context of Regulus's ability. Liliana and Priscilla being the first ones to take down a Sin Archbishop feels fitting, as they are the two characters that seem like they were the least explored, where the other characters like Garfield, Wilhelm, they have a deeper connection to the current story as a whole. So I know that Priscilla still has a lot of backstory to get to, but this episode was a great start. With the matchup between Sirius and Priscilla, it seemed like the perfect matchup to display the contrast between the two characters and how they think about love. It's two separate schools of thought, one believing in one mind and body, while the other is the acceptance of the individual. Besides Gorgeous Tiger finding out that his mother is still alive, Liliana's backstory might just be the most heartwarming of the entire season 3 of ReZero. A happy-go-lucky simplistic character that always seems to be upbeat and have like this positive vibe about her character. We all know these kind of personalities that being around these kinds of people, they always radiate this positive energy. And so this character goes through these trials and tribulations before finding her aha moment. And so if Liliana's backstory did not make you feel good, it might just be evil. The prize and tease to me is still Priscilla's backstory, as there is so much to learn about her history because of how much it will expand the ReZero world. But that's mostly going to be for future arcs. And so for this matchup against Sirius, it was really cool to see what kind of power Priscilla wields. Her ability to defer damage to other parts of her clothing, that was actually pretty cool. And the fact that she wields such a big ass sword that controls rage, that controls flames, it really shows the theme of her character. How she is like that sadist personality. I just like the overall concept of her character, man. There's no one quite like her in this anime, at least. If I had one criticism for Priscilla for this episode, it would be how she was used. She was used as more of a typical hero. It would have been a lot more cooler if they followed up on her more sadistic side, if she took down Sirius by giving her a little bit more pain. It's just that a lot of these scenes, they are just typical heroic tropes, which is perfectly fine. It's just I thought it could have been a bit more memorable, considering her character. So yeah guys, let me know what you guys thought about this episode of ReZero. I would love to know. And do me a favor guys, hit the like button if you can relate to Liliana's backstory. And subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakusen.com. And I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.